Operations manager, in reference to my organization being about 13,000 people, 60-70% of a person's role till about 2 years back was that of a chief HR officer. How to attract the best talent, train them, retain, motivate, etc., etc. There has been a significant technology impact where there is a lot of questions about how many of these 13,000 people's work can actually just be done by technology. And hence, suddenly 30-40% of our work has become that of a CTO instead of a CHRO. And that is really significant. But it is this change of the role of an ops manager from a CHRO to a CTO is where we have increasingly experienced that BPM is becoming more and more critical on how the organizational change is happening. And that's something I would spend a few minutes upon today. And what the industry is full of today is a graveyard of automation implementations. And these could be artificial intelligence, cognitive, just basic robotic process implementations. But the industry is absolutely full of failed automation implementations. And this is where that whole gap, that the hype exists, the technology to deliver that exists. But in our day-to-day lives, we are just not seeing the change having happened in that manner. Now, we started looking at how some of these things can be addressed. And there's a real example of our engagement with one of our clients. So there's a client of ours where the risk and compliance organization is one of the largest custodians in the world. The risk and compliance organization has engaged HCL to do a lot of process modeling activity because they're under regulatory pressure and they need to do that. The tool used there is Aris. We make money out of it. We are happy. They're Lean and Six Sigma organization, the process and re-engineering transformation organization. Also does similar exercise with us. We consult them, we do process redesign, use Visio for that, we make money out of it. The automation team engages us for automation projects. There the focus is to immediately get into implementation. So we do quick business cases using blocks and PowerPoint slides. We do process maps, we make money out of that as well. 3 different divisions within the same organization. We are making money out of all the 3 divisions. But is the client really benefiting? Some of you would have heard of the California Gold Rush. The only people who made money in the California Gold Rush were the shovel sellers. Right? Companies like us who are service providers will continue making money in a scenario of this kind. But for the organization, there are process views, but there is no process view. And if you don't have a process view, you can't drive the digital journey, you can't drive automation, because everything is interrelated. Some of the things and impacts actually with far better real-life experience has been covered with Dan. Not sure I can add much to that. But the first challenge is that the automation plunge is headlong because of the hype. And the second challenge is that even if you are doing process modeling or following other BPM practices, you are doing that in silos. And hence, the big change that is going to happen in the processes is just not getting captured. Nobody in the organization is aware of that. That is when we said that any BPM exercise that we do will have mandatory 3 levers. That you do not have the issue of there being 5 archives of processes, each of them having their own version of truth. There will be one archive, one process will have a view, but it will capture what each of those different stakeholders want. So what it would do is, using the principles of 3 line of defense, which is the kind of most robust risk management framework, it will do all control definitions within the same process map for the risk and compliance organization. It will do value stream analysis for any lean analysis, any future Six Sigma initiatives, etc., within the same process map. It will use things like time and motion study, but basically do a complete activity-based model within the same process so that any automation initiative business case starts from that activity-based model. All this in a single process map, right? So it creates one view of the truth, and that's what we call the three-lever BPM. Now, with three-lever BPM, just some fact sheets here, but ignoring this, in theory, it sounds very obvious, but in this group of BPM professionals, the challenge we faced is that how many people do we actually have who understand three line of defense, who understand value stream analysis, and have at least some appreciation of the possibilities that automation technologies of today are throwing, right? Because if you don't have these three perspectives, you may not be experts in each, but if you don't have these three perspectives, you cannot be the process modeler doing the three-lever BPM. So the theory was great, but the implementation is challenged because we just don't have that kind of people. There are not enough people who understand that what natural language processing can basically do in a process, right? That if I was to ask somebody, Vishwas, please go and buy 50 shares, is that same as entering a 50 share buy request in ICICI Direct, right? Now, if you don't understand the possibility technology throws, you can't. If you don't understand three line of defense, you can't. And hence, we embarked on about a 6-month journey to just continuously train people to get them to a level where we had like enough pool of resources in our organization. And then we set ourselves a target that by 30th of September, which is about 35 days from now, 70% of our processes, and there's no science to the 70%, but the idea was that there would be processes in our organization which are actually tasks where we are responsible. It's very difficult to get a process, end-to-end process view, because we work with our clients. And hence, 70% seemed like a reasonable number. That 70% of all our processes would have a three-lever BPM process map by 30th September, and that's something we are very comfortable about achieving. Now, in terms of some case studies of how it is impacting things, there is a bank in Ireland that we work with. Now, in their mortgage processes, so if you just look at, I said there are three levers. So it's in the same process map. We have improved 53 controls. We have eliminated 16 process steps through the second lever, which is the value stream analysis and the Lean Six Sigma lever. And we have reduced 62% of the effort through use of robotic technologies. Now, the whole design, simulation, everything in one process map, every entity or every stakeholder in the organization on board with that. There's another same custodian that I was referring to, 52% reduction in effort, so many areas redesigned. This is for mortgages again, enhanced controls and effort reduction. But most importantly, what this is actually doing is that in so many of the organizations, and Dan possibly may have better first-hand experience, the risk and the regulatory organizations and the other set which is excited about automation possibilities are almost at loggerheads, are still skeptical to the extent that unless and until I have a seat at the table from the beginning of the journey, I am not going to be on board with the outcomes. And that issue is really getting addressed without actually having to create committees of the CROs and COs, etc. Just by bringing their stake into a process map. And that is what our view of three-lever BPM is, and that's how it's helping us. But again, with a disclaimer that it is really an experiment, because what the scalability of this is, we don't know. 30, 40 of these processes may not exist 2 years, 3 years down the line. And Is this model good enough to handle disruption of that kind? Again, we don't know. But this is something that we have done to address the immediate challenge we have faced, and we have had early success with this. Thank you.